That's just good. That song, I mean, it's hard to listen to a song like that and not feel like you should be just grooving.
Yeah, that's fair.
You're muted.
Oh, why?
Not you, Patrick.
Here's the thing. This has nothing to do with what you're saying. Yeah, I was muted.
Yeah, okay.
I was like, I was fixing my glasses, so I had to do one thing at a time.
We're back in that time period where, like, it's bright outside when we do this, and that feels weird.
I know.
I feel like we need to push it back because of it. Okay, I'm catching up on these last couple of things. Hello, Kate. Hello, Mackenzie.
Hello.
Mackenzie's having problems. Okay. Hello, other people. Oh, Andrew's there. Great. Great.
I'm here. And I've got myself a beer.
I'm so close to being done with this.
What are you
Are
doing?
you ready to go, Andrew?
Reading?
I'm so ready. It's crazy how ready I am.
I got sucked into this really good article, and I have like 2 paragraphs left. That's the reason the show's late, because I've been reading this. Okay, I'm gonna turn this down.
Everyone just got a peek of what it's like to be with Patrick at any given moment. You can be talking to Patrick, and he can be fully invested in what's happening. An article pops up or a Slack notification, and you'll lose him until he's resolved whatever the thing is.
Mm-hmm.
I am listening to you. The thing is that, well, no, hold on. What's his name? Called it buffering.
I was like currently buffering right now.
Every once in a while, something happens where it just all comes together, and this is that moment. Patrick went away. I can still see him on the side over here. He's reading something now, as far as I can tell. So,
I figure he'll just rejoin when he feels like
maybe
it.
Patrick just needs.
Who am I thinking of?
I don't know.
You're thinking of Zachary Levi, the guy from Shazam.
No.
You're thinking of Norm
Where
Macdonald,
did you see it?
the famous comedian who died a couple years back.
That's sad, but no. I'm thinking of the guy that also podcasts that we are friends with.
Mark Bricky.
Mark Bricky, thank you. Yeah, he called it buffering. We had a conversation about it. So, like, I hear it. I just might not revisit it until 30 minutes from now when you've moved on.
Yeah, but you really haven't heard it, because then you'll come back and say, okay, you were saying something about...
Well,
like, you'll get to the topic.
It's like that thing from the Lego movie, like, just in case I wasn't listening, can you start again from the beginning?
Yeah.
But I didn't forget, so.
I've learned to just stop talking when Patrick starts reading something, because he's not going to... You're going to have to repeat yourself.
It's just
like,
done, Game over.
That's just the reality of where we're at. So, Lauren, welcome back. We're glad that your face is back in front of us. We've got a lot to cover
sorry
tonight.
I missed it last week. Work trip.
It's okay.
It was one of the fun movie review ones that I love the most.
I know, and we'll never talk about that film again. So, Will held down the fort nicely, but I think we're ready to roll. So why don't we clap, as is customary at the beginning of all of these episodes, and then we'll get things started. How's that sound?
Lauren, great to have you back. Just kidding. Go ahead.
Okay.
Giving
3
up.
and 2 and 1 and nice. We're like on it tonight, ready to kick it. Here we go. Just a swig.
Got mine too.
Is swig a like an old person phrase? Like
No.
I don't know of any young people who refer to taking a sip of something as a swig.
Well, I don't think it's very often that you say that anyway. Like
swig is the singular.
Like I don't know
swag.
if I've ever actually said it.
No,
like
wait.
You just said it.
Swig
Let
is
me
the
take a swig of
present.
this. No.
Present tense. Swag would be past tense.
Mm-hmm. Stuff we all get. Okay, everybody. Let's pop our necks.
Did you know swag is something? It's pirate related. Is pirate booty is another name for that swag? This is 100%
I was like, no, I think
question.
they're totally separate.
I don't know.
No, this is serious.
I feel like I've heard some connection to it, but I can't speak with any degree of confidence on it.
Check for me.
I think are you thinking of like swagger or like? I don't know.
No. This came up in a crossword recently, and it was pirate related.
That's why I saw it.
But the answer was swag. I thought I was wrong by putting swag, but now I think maybe it's another name for like pirate booty.
Yeah. Maybe. In theory, in a pirate ship, it would be kind of like they split all of the prize between the crew. So in theory, it is still stuff we all get.
Or they all get. Speaking of pirates, we all saw that Noel what's his last name? Fielding.
Yeah.
We saw that trailer for his new show coming out, and we all feel like that's just another version of.
I haven't seen it yet.
It does seem very similar. However, the fact that Our Flag Means Death is now done and they're making a new show bothers me less than if both shows were running concurrently. You know?
Yeah, but this one was clearly in production while the other one was still a live production. Like it wasn't like.
Yeah. But as like someone who enjoyed Our Flag Means Death and that is gone now, to get a replacement that looks funny as well isn't the worst.
At no point am I saying that I am upset about this. I love Noel and I loved the premise of Our Flag Means Death, but it feels kind of crappy to essentially what it feels like anyway on surface level remake the same kind of show while the other show is still actively happening.
It is kind of weird, but like
it's just weird.
It is like, I mean, Steve Bonnet like was a real person, so it's one of those things where I'm like, I see where someone else took this idea maybe and ran with it, you know?
And it's almost like maybe the production level was higher for this show and it took a little bit longer, and maybe Our Flag Means Death just happened to beat it out. Maybe that's how that.
I mean, yeah, there's always those things like you see like every so often like two movies that are like very similar come out at the same time, or like two Snow White movies or whatever, like things like that.
Ants in a Bug's Life.
Are we in the episode? I have just confirmed that swag, well, weirdly it says past tense. It says was a term for pirate booty. I don't know if that means that we no longer recognize that as a term, but
or maybe maybe that's the official word is there's no more pirates, and so everything pirate related is past.
I think there are definitely still pirates, but they're not like
but like not the fun kind. Ones.
Yeah, they're not Pirates of the Caribbean anymore.
No, the Caribbean.
It's Captain Phillips, not like Captain Jack Sparrow.
Will wants the world to know that he refers to his booty as swag. So that's important for everyone to know. Okay.
I'm always like, man, you got a dump truck of swag.
Yes.
I guess in that context, dump truck and swag would be the same thing.
Dump truck, yeah. Although not many pirates have dump trucks. They don't work well in the water. That's all. Okay, sure.
I was like, they could use that as a flotation device. Who knows?
Maritime law doesn't see. No, those things sink right to the bottom of the ocean. Okay.
Yep. I don't know what the context was for this, but that is kind of how I feel right now. All right, continue.
Here we go. You guys ready to see it get turned on? Because here it comes. Welcome to episode 547 of the Pop Culture Roundtable, the podcast that's on a bicycle built for three. In this episode, we talk about Lorcana news, SNL set design, and the best Monopoly. I'm Andrew Sale.
I'm Lauren Rubin.
I'm Patrick Hill.
So sync up your peddling feet, because it's time for another episode.
That's all I needed. Thank you.
I like that. I was like, do we have like a bike bell sound effect we could put in there or something?
Have either of you ever done one of the beer bicycle cruises?
No, I've thought about it a couple times.
Okay, beer already kind of makes me sweat a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Cycling for sure makes me sweat. I mean, like it's like
especially if you do it in Texas.
Yeah, especially if you do it in Texas, and that's what you see. You see these like parties in downtown Austin.
Yes,
biking around. That sounds so miserable to me. I think I would get 2 beers in and just throw up everywhere.
I've done one of those races where you run like a short amount, get a beer, and then like you do that 4 times.
Beer.
There's always people throwing up at the 2nd and 4th interval every year.
Yeah, I would. I don't think I could do that. I don't think I can't.
It is like a small cup of beer. It's not like a full can of beer. Like it would be like maybe I guess like a third of a can, maybe half.
Oh, so you're not drinking 4 beers then?
Some people literally just stop and like keep drinking or like bring their own cups. But
isn't that what a beer mile is? You're supposed to drink 4 beers over the course of a mile. Like, isn't that the deal?
Even in Milwaukee, a town made for beer, they do not. They only give us little half cups. So
maybe they only give you half cups because you're a tiny person.
Okay, if 2 people,
but you are allowed to bring your own cups, and some people bring like full like pint glasses and have a good time with it. So
no, I'm sure. I knew someone that used to take shots of vodka while doing like 10Ks. So you can bring whatever you would like to bring. Have either of you ridden a tandem bicycle?
Never. I have not. I've always wanted to try, but it seems really hard.
Has anyone in chat ridden a tandem bicycle? Are you multiplying your efforts, or is this like addition?
On a bike?
You've got to be multiplying efforts, right? Like
that's what I would think. Like maybe, it can't be doubly as hard, right?
Mm-mm.
But you both have to like balance perfectly. I think it must be difficult to do it with 2 people.
I think if you're going fast enough, the balance kind of takes care of itself. Right? Like, that's the whole...
It's important to note that Patrick doesn't know how to ride a bike on his own. Patrick doesn't know
I also haven't ridden a bike in a long time, and all of the worst injuries I've had are because of a bike, pretty much. So I don't really like riding bikes, nor do I think I should take someone down on a tandem bike.
Patrick's mom is going to send him a bike next week based on this conversation, and it's going to be a Spider-Man bike. It's going to have...
Yes.
I think it's like the gyro effect thing. Like, I think if the wheels are spinning and they're spinning faster, like, it wants to stand you up. I think you have to kind of intentionally mess up.
Yes.
I'm not saying turning isn't different. You're just not, I just don't think you're going to spontaneously fall.
I think, so because I said your mom's name, I conjured her into my DMs. All right. And here's what she said. And I'm pretty sure this is in reference to a few moments ago when I was asking about swig. And she said it's redneck, not age related. Thanks, Carol. Keeping us honest. Keeping us honest since 1984. Okay. Let's get things rocking and rolling. The show hasn't even officially started yet, so that's what you have in store for tonight. We like to kick every episode off by going around the table, which is where we talk about things that are new, fun, and noteworthy about our weeks. Lauren, you've not been here in 2 weeks. Well, 3 if you don't count the fact that we
were all not here for trivia. Yeah.
So it's been 3 weeks since people have heard what's been going on in your neck of the woods. Don't give us everything that's happened, but give us the highlights from the last 3 weeks.
Please no.
I think the biggest highlight for me has to be the Oscars. I've been catching up on all the movies prior to this, and I threw a big party yesterday because it was Oscar time. I thought the ceremony was lots of fun. It went by fast, and this year was like a bit shorter than the other Oscars. Also started earlier than usual, which some people liked and some people didn't. I feel like being in a central time zone, it was great for us, but I sympathize with the people who had it at like 4 p.m. That is kind of weird, you know. But
I loved it.
Yeah, I was like, it worked out for me. I thought it was great. I don't think there were like a ton of like crazy snubs. Like all the ones that did happen were like, well, I think that person was probably who I would have picked next. The one that I think like totally shocked everyone, including the person who won the award, was Emma Stone winning over Lily Gladstone. I think like everyone on earth was surprised by that. That was totally crazy to me.
Who is Lily Gladstone?
She played the wife in Killers of the Flower Moon.
Oh, I see.
Which I think like the whole movie, like she was the best part of that, and that movie didn't get a lot of love at the Oscars. So like,
this was the first Native American woman to be nominated. Yes,
I think that is correct.
I think that was that's what they touted. So here's what I had said about and Mackenzie is keeping me honest because she texted to remind me that I was going to say this on the podcast, but. Not a lot of wins for Barbie. In fact, there was just one.
Yeah.
And I think here's
they owned
the problem
with that performance.
Yes, they did.
I'm just kidding.
I think the reason why that happened is because they had to go up against Poor Things, and Poor Things is Barbie for adults. It's
my brother called it Weird Barbie the movie. Yeah.
Sets, all these things, but it has all these dark undertones, and that dark tends to win out in the Oscars.
I think like a lot of
lightheartedness, and so-
people didn't want to take Barbie seriously for lots of reasons, and I think that's why it like didn't win a lot, even though it was like nominated, and even though it was probably a lot of people's like favorite movie of the year, and like they opened and closed with music from it, like they were playing Dance the Night throughout the whole thing. Like I think like Barbie was like very significant, even if it didn't win any awards, which is like I was hoping it would win Best Picture because of that, like that it wasn't going to win some of the other things. I'm like, Robert Downey Jr. was going to beat Ryan Gosling. There's just like, I think no way that was going to happen otherwise. Cause like even during Oppenheimer, I was like, this is it. He's winning this award. Like that's just going to happen. So I think it was tough. And I do think Poor Things took like the production award that I thought Barbie would win and stuff.
Everything where Barbie was against Poor Things won.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't see the Oscars as a better or best thing anymore. I mean, I think I did for a while, and at some point I just realized that everyone nominated deserves to win the thing.
Oh yeah.
So the person winning is, I mean, it's a cherry on top, but the amount of people that do something deserving is big. So now I also think that in a lot of ways Barbie was just viewer bait. I mean, I think that, you know, when you're able to say that you're going to have Ryan Gosling performing this song and then you can string people along the whole time, I see it more as a ratings thing than anything else. But we also don't know that Barbie didn't win. I mean, the Best Picture award was given away in such a fashion that
was so awkward.
My eyes see Oppenheimer.
See Oppenheimer. We were also like, what award is he even giving out? He just like mumbled it out. Like
Patrick went to the bathroom.
Al Pacino.
Patrick went to the bathroom and like before that final segment started and came out and it was already done. And I'm like, bro, it was so fast. It was so fast. Al Pacino walked out and skipped like the recap where they do like the 10 movie whatever. I think he just was like, okay. And he opens up because I don't think he could see the prompters. And
I think he just doesn't care anymore. He's like,
he just went for it. And everyone was just like, oh, he just announced it.
I genuinely thought like, because I saw him coming out on stage, but I was like, we still got another like 4 or 5 minutes before we get there. Yeah. We did not. It was a matter of seconds.
He didn't even read, like, and the nominees are like, he was just like, Oppenheimer.
And he didn't say the Oscar goes to. He said, my eyes say Oppenheimer. Like, okay.
Pretty hilarious.
But I mean, otherwise, I thought it was a good evening, like a solid evening. I
don't think there's anything like exciting about this year. Yeah, like there's no slap, obviously. There's no like major upsets. Like I think like a lot of people expected Oppenheimer to win, and it did.
Yeah.
I
mean, the John
I wasn't
Cena
even surprised at how many awards it won.
The John Cena moment and the Ken moment will be called back for a while. Maybe the twins moment will be called back.
I was
going to
say the Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger one was excellent as well.
That was
but
great.
Then otherwise,
I've
like,
seen
you can
so
just
many
watch
pictures
those
today of John
things and
Cena's
be
naked
done.
butt. Like,
You're welcome.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was fine. And if it had been the same show exactly, but it was an hour later, I would have liked it less. But because it was an hour earlier, the same show, everything that ran the way that it did, we were leaving Patrick's house by 9:30. That's fantastic.
Ice cream.
We were on our way. Yeah, we had to go.
Yeah, I had plenty of time to clean up all the food that we made and everything.
So that being said, I think it was a win. Him reading his that live tweet from Trump essentially was pretty wild.
I could not believe that was actually real, and like a friend found it like live on Twitter that it was actually Trump tweeting and everything, because I thought it was just like some other Republican. I didn't think it was actually him. That was the most insane thing in the world.
Kimmel said in an interview right after the show last night that he was asked, I think by his writing team, not to read the tweet and to instead do something else for that minute. But he said, no, I'm going to read the tweet. And then he decided to go out there and do it. But
and I think he'll forever, he'll go down in the annals of history for at least this night, for at least a little while, as saying, isn't it past your jail time? Like, that's a really
That was a
great
good
line.
joke. That was
That's
a good
a
joke.
great one-liner. So
allegedly, Kimmel said that he wants to, I don't know how serious Kimmel's ever being, but allegedly he wants to set the record for hosting the Oscars the most times, which I think he would have to be like Isn't it something crazy like 20 plus
Hasn't
times
Billy
or
Crystal
something?
Wait,
done
really?
it for 40 years?
Is that I don't think that's true. I don't know
I
that
think
for a
it's
fact.
like I think there's some like crazy like is it Bob Hope? I don't know. I think there's some crazy number, but he's on 4 now, right?
I thought Billy Crystal is the
Okay,
most
let's look it up. We
I was like,
can't.
now I am curious, but man, I don't love Jimmy Kimmel, but that would be fine. I think he's okay.
I don't love him
Bob
either, but
Hope holds the record at 19.
And then
that's an achievable number. How many
Billy Crystal?
times has Jimmy Kimmel done
That's
it?
just exactly what I said, but it's fine.
4.
You want to know how many times Billy Crystal has hosted it?
Yeah, because he's done it a lot, hasn't he?
Oscars. Okay, look, I'm so good at Google. How many times host?
I don't have the internet.
Billy Crystal.
Yeah, I also saw that like John Mulaney thing that Mackenzie's mentioning, or I heard it on a podcast today, and I think he would be a great pick.
9.
So Jimmy Kimmel has to do 5 just to tie with Billy Crystal, and Billy Crystal has to do
true.
10 to
Billy
tie
will never see Billy Crystal again.
with Robert Hope.
Aw.
We will. I don't know where Billy Crystal is. I don't think we're going to see him again.
He'll be around for the 100th one. When's the 100th one? Isn't it soon?
I don't know what number they're on anymore. I used
Google
to
it
pay
yourself.
attention.
I can't do everything here.
I don't have the internet over here. I don't know what you're talking about. I have a dedicated line just for this restream. I don't know.
Well, then that's all you get.
It's funny
Lauren.
that I thought you were looking at a Wikipedia page that had all this stuff listed, and you could just
Yeah, I was
scrub
really
through
hoping it was
I didn't
just that
realize you were
convenient, but
googling
yeah.
specific questions each time we came up with this.
No, I just go to ChatGPT every time, so I don't even know that these are the real answers.
They change every time you refresh it.
Oh no.
Billy Crystal has hosted 43 times.
Yeah.
Okay. Back to
Yeah,
what you were saying,
Oscars were good. We had a good time. Lots of fun food, all of that good stuff. Obviously, I did see Dune as well. I loved it. I want to go see it again. I haven't seen an IMAX screening yet. I saw the RPX with the really loud sound instead, which I thought was a good compromise because I couldn't get to an IMAX with the timing of show times and stuff. But that movie is so good. I can't wait to just keep watching it. I did listen to y'all's comments from last week. I don't have too much to add really, but yeah, just man, it's fun to I love moments like this where one of these movies comes out and everybody's seen it and you can just talk to everyone about it. It's just so much fun. Everyone's in on the jokes and stuff. It's been great. Dude's awesome.
Everyone but Jedis. So if you wanna spoil it for Jedi afterwards, just start talking about it.
Well, he's got
you
till
have 48
just he only has to make
hours.
it 2 more days before I think I ran to go see it because I didn't want stuff spoiled. I'd actually avoided pretty much watching all of the trailers and stuff for Dune 2 since I know what happens, and I just wanted to see all of it come to life on screen versus seeing clips on a my phone screen or whatever. And man, it was just I think it just
You've
paid
read
off
the
really
books.
well. Yeah. That's why I was I'm not worried about being spoiled, but I wanted to see everything as they were going to do it in the movie as a surprise. Because there's obviously I know what beats are happening.
see.
I know
see.
Paul is going to ride the sandworm. We all knew this. It's
Whoa,
in the trailers.
chill.
It's in every trailer
whoa.
poster and teased at the end of the movie. This is not a secret. And so I wanted to just see it happen in the movie. I didn't
We
want
managed to
keep
go
seeing
the
those.
entire
said
episode
we,
without
man.
any without any spoilers.
That's not a
Lauren's talking
spoiler.
about it for 3 minutes and spoil something.
Just throwing stuff out all willy-nilly.
I was I'm not even going to count that as a spoiler, especially if you've seen the first one. But anyway, yeah. So that was just great. And now I'll just I'll kind of close it out there. I've just been working. I was in Las Vegas for work last week. I saw the Sphere for the first time. That's cool. But I didn't get to go in it or anything. But it is very cool to see actually, because the last time I was in Vegas, it was being built and it just looked like the Death Star on the horizon, this very post-apocalyptic, half-built, black
cool.
sphere coming up in the middle of the desert. It was so weird.
I
So
feel
it's
like I'd
it
almost
looks
rather
nice.
see that than see
Yeah.
the finished screen, because this finished screen,
It's cool. It is cool. I was very impressed, actually seeing it in person. But it is I just remember so distinctly the Blade Runner weird apocalyptic vibes of seeing it half built.
Patrick, you looked this up, and I'm not asking you to do it now because heaven forbid you look anything up on Google. But you did look up how much money they lose every day, didn't you? At one point.
Oh, is it the electricity to keep it running or something? They do have a show where people can come look at it aside from just the concerts or whatever that they.
Right, they have a daily show. It's a wilderness or space thing, whatever. Yeah, but Patrick at one point did know the information on how much money they were losing every day, and it was
I did not. Yeah, so it's like okay, hold on 1 second.
I'm curious if it's like the electricity to keep it running, the real estate, or like like some or like
all of it. Just all of it.
In the first quarter that it was opened, it lost $100 million.
Yeah, there we go. An hour
lost. Yeah, that's crazy.
They lost it under the seats because it's that like that riser seat. You can't get.
Yeah, you're never getting it back. So that's so funny. But yeah, that's it for me. Andrew, do you want to take it?
Yeah, I'll take it. So this week is just going to be a couple of updates and stories. That's what I'm going to give you this week. And last week, if you tuned in last week, you heard the beginning of a bit of a rant story. That story has concluded. The game store that I pre-ordered some Lorcana stuff through. I did end up filling out the like reporting them, and within 12 hours. PayPal gave me back my money. Like that's how quickly it resolved because there were so many other cases other claims against this guy that I got my money back immediately. That's the fastest I've ever seen a turnaround for PayPal. So that's resolved and we've moved on with our lives. I have some updates on Lorcana, but that's going to come in my master category because there are some things presently unfolding in the world of Lorcana that I'll talk about. But the other thing is these are all like things that have happened to me in the last week or financially debilitating things. Like that's what my story, that's the theme this week. So if you remember correctly, a couple years ago, about a year and a half ago, I tore my calf pretty extensively, in a pretty bad way. I was down for about 3 months. And then recovery was still even several months after that. It was bad. And the end of last year, started getting mail that the emergency room that I went wasn't honoring the in my insurance. My insurance wasn't going to pay for that because it was an out-of-network emergency room. And the bill that I was going to be stuck with was like $2,200 or something like that. So I went through an appeal process. I went through 2 appeal processes, actually. And I'm just saving you some of the long drawn out stuff, but this is happening over the course of several months. Mm-hmm. As of this week, I got a final notice. Like we are sticking to our original answer. We covered what we are obligated to cover, and we're not going to cover anymore. Okay, fine. So I called the emergency room at this point and said, okay, here's what's going on. Of course, they know because I was actually going through them. They were sending documents and things over to the insurance people. So it's not like this was news to them. And so I explained what's going on. And they said, okay, well, we can get it. We can forgive whatever. Like we can, I can't think of the word that they use, but like they found a loophole where they could kind of wipe this portion of it off and I would be left with $950, which like it's less than half. That's okay, cool. That's nice. And then I said, okay. And then at the end of that conversation, I said, all right, well, I'll have to figure out how I'm going to do that. And she said, well, we can do payment plans, or if you can pay it all in one chunk, we can offer a discount. Would you like to know what that discount is? And I said, absolutely. So she came back and she said, if you pay it all at once, we can forgive the whole thing, or we can resolve it. That's what they call it. We can resolve it for $786. And I was like, okay, that's good. What if I can pay it all tomorrow? Can you do it for $700? And she said, if you pay it, she said, if you do it,
you
if
rich?
you call and make the payment, all the full payment tomorrow, we will resolve it for $700. And so I was able to get it down from $2,200 to $700. Now you can argue whether or not I should have had to pay it in the first place, but that was a win. If I was going to have to pay some money, I'd rather pay $700 than $2,200. So that was a win in my book. In the meantime, last week I was taking Cooper to church, and on our way there, we got hit by a car. Hit our
oh no!
ran into us. The light turned green.
Were you guys in a car when this happened?
I was in a car. Yes, we were.
Okay. Sorry. When you say you got hit by a car, it could go either way.
Our car got hit by a car.
It could.
Light turned green. I hadn't started moving yet. There were a couple cars in front of me. The car behind me really wanted to go, I guess. And when I say car, I mean big white truck. And when I say big white truck, I mean big white work truck. Mm-hmm. So he plows into me, does damage. Like my trunk is creased in at the top and at the bottom, and my bumper's jacked up a little bit. Not a big deal. We weren't hurt. It was fine. He was actually a super nice guy. The first guy who owns a truck I've ever met who's actually nice. So nice guy. Starting to make me rethink people who drive trucks. But come to find out, it's a company vehicle, and the company is self-insured. So they have asked me not to file a claim, that they will take care of everything on their end. So I've just got to get them 2 quotes. Then I get to pick which one of which collision center I go to. Then I go get my car. I go get my rental car. They reimburse me for the rental car. They deal directly with the collision center, and they pay them directly. And that's it. Keep it all off of the books, which is fine by me for my insurance. My insurance doesn't go up, any of that stuff. And so it's been a wild couple of weeks talking with people, getting quotes and estimates and negotiating money and all this other stuff. And so that just feels like what my life has been like, looking at dollar bills for the last couple of weeks, and some of them positive, some of them negative. And so anyway, that's where my life's been. Not been doing a ton pop culture wise, because I've been mostly on the phone with insurance adjusters and with collision care centers and all sorts of things. So I agree. I'm
glad you guys are okay. Yeah, it does sound like, I don't know if I would be 100% cool with that, but yeah, if they actually...
Well, I have all the information. Like I have all of the stuff. So if push came to shove, I can immediately file a claim and it's fine. Okay. Like I have everything. They've been very upfront with me. Everything has been very above board, and the guy has been very responsive to me, like even in text message, like he freely sharing information. So I feel very good about the situation that we're walking into.
Yeah, that's
Cooper,
better.
After we got hit, I got out of the car. I made sure he was fine. I got out of the car, met with the guy, and then I got back in. And before, like I was starting to text the guy and put some information in my phone, and Cooper was like, "Here, let me show you this thing on my phone." And he's still watching videos and something like, "Buddy, I need a minute." so Cooper's fine.
Definitely
Cooper's
okay.
Totally fine. So anyway, that's been my week. That's been my past couple of weeks. Patrick, tell us something fun.
Did you not get a neck brace for Cooper to put on immediately?
You know what? I didn't. I texted him the next day. He was at school, and I said, "Hey, how you feeling?" He's like, "Fine." I'm like, "You're not sore at all?" He's like, "You're not sore at all?" And he said, "No." I'm like, we got hit by a car yesterday, right? He's like, "I feel fine." I'm like, "Okay, cool."
Yeah. That's really funny, like just odd coincidence, because today when I was driving home from the office, like I was like a lane over from a car accident, and the car that I think hit the other car was a white truck.
See, they're bad
just
news.
Weird
people.
Coincidence.
Just following you around. All right. I want to pose a situation to you both. So Ben and David they're a couple that I've watched on YouTube a few times, and they have a channel that focuses on cruising, and in the way going on cruises. Cruising is like another. It's another
reviews for cruising is I'm sure a thing, but it's not what you think it is.
But especially in the wake, Andrew, of you going on your first cruise, then Mackenzie and I found ourselves like falling down this rabbit hole of learning about boats. Plus, boats are a little bit more attractive to us lately. So, in looking at cruise stuff, came across Ben and David and watching their channel, and they just had something happen this past week in the video that they published, where they were 4 days into a trip on MSC Cruise Line, and they were asked to stop. Well, they were told they're not allowed to do any filming, take any photos. They can't even pull out their iPhone and take a picture. Like
everyone, or just this couple?
Specifically them.
Okay. All right.
And they're partway into a cruise, but if they're also there to document it because that's what their channel is, and so
that's how they get their write-offs.
Yeah, because they were told they can't even take pictures with their iPhone, then they just at the the next time the ship was in port, they just got off and they left, right? Because what else is there to do? And it's kind of hard to enjoy it at that point. Now, a couple of notes about this. They personally feel like this was targeted. And the reason that they think it's targeted is two things. One, they did a very negative video on this cruise line a couple years ago. I think they said it was like one of the worst cruises they'd ever been on. They would never go on one again, all this type of stuff. So this cruise this time was like the first time they were like giving them another chance type situation. Number two, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago or something, they showed the email. They blurred out the contact information, but showed the email. This cruise line invited them to come onto the cruise specifically to document it. And it was going to be completely paid for. The catch was the cruise was going to provide the titles to name their YouTube videos, the descriptions to put in the YouTube videos. Like the cruise was obviously going to put
they're buying their content.
Right.
Yeah.
In essence, a big paid ad. And so they took the same cruise in terms of like, it was like the yacht club level cruise. So they took the same cruise they were offered for free, but they paid for it out of pocket and they chose to document it. So because of that, they feel like they were targeted.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean that they were. It is possible that other passengers complained about them going around and filming stuff. In fairness, their videos are very long and very in-depth, and so they would have to be capturing
intrusive
a lot
somehow.
of... Well, they'd have to be capturing a lot of footage. So I don't think they just go in, spend 15 minutes, hey, we're done. I wouldn't be surprised to learn that they come back home with 6 hours of footage or 7 hours of footage. Like I think they're I mean, you could tell me they get 12 hours of footage. I wouldn't be surprised, because if you end up with an hour-long video, you have to start with more than an hour of footage to get there.
And if you're on a week-long cruise, you've got plenty of time to get around and get different shots.
Yeah, it's potentially a big chunk of time. So this is setting up this situation, which has to do with what do you find okay in terms of vloggers and you know, YouTubers, whatever the term is. We're just gonna use old people terms like swag and YouTubers today. What do you find appropriate in terms of disrupting other people, privacy, etc.? And let me throw out the scale real quick. The scale is, on the bottom end, you're a family on vacation and you take pictures. I don't think any of us think that's inappropriate to be on vacation and take pictures.
Yeah,
that's
I think
the bottom
everyone
end.
does that. Yeah.
On the top end is like Netflix film crew making a documentary.
Right. Lights, cameras,
3 to 7 people.
Right.
Boom guy, you know, like that.
I think
that's
that's
like
obviously like a very different thing than just like even someone making a video with their own phone camera, you know, like walking around and doing that. Like I see that all the time. That doesn't usually bother me too much. I think it's more like how much it interferes with like you, like, you know, or how disruptive it is. I think that's a better word for it. Like, you know, like if they're just like filming a video talking to themselves, like that's not going to really bother anyone else, you know. But like if they're like running through crowds or something that like causes a scene, that's obviously not great.
So are you worried about it in terms of privacy for the people that are like caught in the crossfire of filming? Or are you just thinking about it from the intruding on the things that I want to do and now I'm like
yeah, more the second, because like personally, like I've never thought about the idea of like, am I in the background of someone else's video like while they're on vacation or something, you know, like in any, like if you're in a public place where people take pictures, it's kind of like assumed you may be in the background somewhere, you know, like of somebody's photo at some point. And that to me isn't a big deal, you know?
I think there is a difference. And I hadn't thought about it from a privacy perspective until you just said it. I think there's a difference for me of, yes, one, the annoyance of these people are always talking over whatever's happening, or they have lighting equipment, or they're walking around with this, you know, with their camera equipment and sticking it up and being around. There's an annoyance of just them being around the whole time. Because when you go on a cruise, you do end up seeing the same people over and over again. There's only so many people and there's only so much space, right? Like there's plenty of room to get away and be on your own. But you're never going to get away from everybody on the ship. Everyone has to eat at some point. Everybody goes into the entertainment area at some point, like all these things. And so if that stuff starts to get disrupted, that's annoying. But there is something to be said about when you go away on vacation, you are not automatically giving away your right to some level of privacy. And if they're doing an excessive amount of filming where there's always a chance that you're going to be in the background of videos or some extended video, not just like in the back of a photograph where there's a still, there's like a place in time where you're captured in the back, but like essentially potentially documenting your whole trip too by being in the background of these things, that's not cool either. So I do think that there is something to be said about like, yeah, there should be, and I don't know these guys. I don't know what their channel looks like. I don't know what their shooting style is or whatever. They might have really tight shots and not include anybody in the background. That's totally fine. But there is something to be said about just because you're an influencer does not give you the right to capture other people when they're on their vacation and put that as part of your content. Right? Like that's
the one day a year that I get over my anxiety and take my shirt off beside a pool.
Right.
I'd really hate if this ended up in their video.
Right, exactly. Exactly, yeah. With commentary. With commentary.
I guess like I just feel like the chances of you actually figuring out that you were in the background, if like in most cases, would be so hard to figure out. Like, you'd have to know the YouTuber or whatever. Like, find the video later, scrub through to look for yourself. Like, I don't know. I don't care that much.
Is it about you knowing, or is it about like the fact that now there's things that you did in private that you thought were done in private that could have potentially been captured by somebody who is actively publishing it on the internet? Not just like,
there's like a surveillance. I guess it's just tough for me when you're like in a public place. Like, it's not like you agree to 100% privacy if you're like in a park. I don't know. It's a tough. No. I get what the argument is, but
and I had never thought of it either until you presented it, Patrick. Then I'm like, yeah, I don't know that I would love that. Like, I'm fine being in the background of videos. I'm obviously charismatic enough. I put myself out there publicly, right? Like what we're doing right now would be, and I would hope that if these guys, as they were filming things, if they saw that we were in the background, more than once or twice, that they would include you in on that. Like, hey, just so you know, you're in the background of we're going to be shooting this thing. I just want you to know.
Yeah, that would also change if they talk to you about it ahead of time, depending on the situation.
Yeah. Some level of like of consideration of like, hey, just we're going to be filming this thing. You're not going to be in focus, but you are in the frame. Just wanted you to know in case you wanted to step aside, like whatever. Like that would be a considerate thing to do. And I don't know these people. Maybe they're jerks. I don't know. Maybe they're jerks to the staff, or maybe the staff is being jerks because they can't control the content that's coming out of their boat.
So in their specific case, like none of us know what actually happened. We don't know how. Maybe they filmed everything at 5 a.m. and no one was around. And that's not true because they obviously share the footage they have and you do see people. So, but we don't know if they got reported. We don't know if staff just suddenly realized who they were. We don't know their situation. What I will say is, on one hand, MSC did handle it poorly because MSC could have said, hey, if you're using your phone, taking like pictures or photos, and this is for your vacation, like we encourage you to do that. But like filming content for your job, that, you don't have the proper permission and we're not going to allow that. They could have very easily said that. They could have talked to them about that.
Yeah, some sort of permitting, right?
And if they went out from that perspective of, use your phone.
I'm just curious, though, like if going down that rabbit hole that you just brought up, like if they could get like a permit, let's say from the like in this situation where it's a cruise, is like a limited space, like so they get a permit so they can film their YouTube video, then like how would that work? Because like the cruise is the only one getting money, and like the problem is that like the people in the video aren't being credited or whatever. Like I don't know.
So,
that's
I don't know all the details. I do know that there are people that do get permission ahead of time, and in those cases, my understanding is guests are alerted that is happening on the ship if they're going to be there at that time. I do not know MSC's policies around this. There's another person that Mackenzie and I watch a lot called Trek Trendy. And Trek Trendy does a couple of things. One, if people show up in his video in the background, he blurs their faces. Actually, it's kind of funny because sometimes he messes up the blur and he'll like turn the camera and the blur circle will stay, but the face will move and it's hilarious. But anyway,
funny.
He blurs their faces. In number 2, from listening to him talk, I believe he always calls ahead to let the train or the boat or the airline or whatever know that he intends to be filming, so that way if there's an issue he needs to know about or if they don't want to happen, they have an opportunity to say so. So from that, so he is someone that is always calling
That seems
ahead.
extremely considerate. Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Like probably
Whereas
the most you
Ben
could
and
be,
David
maybe.
don't do that. Now that said, Ben and David have also been doing this for years now. They've been on dozens and dozens and dozens of cruises. So then from that, and they've never encountered this before. So that probably, in terms of like reasonable expectation, they reasonably believed that what they were doing was okay to do because they've made tons of content about this and nobody has ever said something to them. So if MSC was going to put a stop to it for any reason, it is odd to me that MSC would have restricted them more than they would have restricted any other guest, because they weren't asking that of any other guest in terms of personal photography. So that's too far. That said, it also doesn't mean that Ben and David are totally in the right, because it's possible that another passenger complained. It's possible that they were being intrusive. All those things are another thing. It left this place in my head of how many subscribers or how many people are going to view something when you cross the threshold from I should alert people to it's okay. Like if I post this if I make a Reddit post and a bunch of people see this, I mean, thousands of people are going to see it even on like a cruise subreddit. Does that mean that I should have gotten permission? So it does create this very, very odd gray area. But I would say if you're a YouTuber that makes your living full time off doing it, you should maybe call ahead.
Yeah, I think at least calling ahead makes sense, because like the business, there's I know there's rules with like filming where you can't like just pop into Starbucks and start filming usually.
Yes, that's true. This is muddied by the fact that they initially invited.
Oh, that's interesting too.
Like,
that's the reason that's an important.
I do think this is like
that's
an
muddy
interesting question for sure.
That's muddy. Because it's like they clearly wanted content made, but they wanted to control manage the content and control. Because they couldn't control the content, that makes it like they had permission. They had been given permission by sheer invitation.
Yeah, it definitely adds a layer to the onion.
Yeah. One other thing that I want to be very clear about. I do not think corporations are people, and corporations don't deserve the same rights that a person deserves. And this type of content is very important content, because people are spending thousands of dollars on these experiences. So in the same way that someone does an unboxing for a toy or a board game, and we want to look at that before we spend $60,
or an open house.
Yeah, I absolutely,
an open house.
Exactly.
Like
if I'm going to spend potentially $8,000 to go have a cruise experience, I of course want a realistic look that is unfiltered, that shows me what's going to happen. So I in no way think anything should be put in place that prohibits this type of content, because this content is really, really important for the consumer. And again, I don't think that the company should get to have full reign over this PR, because I don't think the company is entitled to the same rights as a person.
Yeah.
There are other people involved, so there is a level of sensitivity that has to be respected.
No, I think that it's a good question. Yeah. I don't think I think the cruise is maybe the biggest asshole in the situation, you know, where it's like you can't like ask someone to do a review and then cancel the review because you didn't like it. Like that doesn't work. I see though that like the YouTube guys may or may not have done something wrong on their side, but it's kind of like maybe, you know, two wrongs doesn't make a right, you know, like.
Yeah.
All right, so that's my round of the table.
That was a fun debate.
So if you want to learn more, look up Ben and David, MSC. You'll find the videos. Now that I've talked about it, I'm sure that all of your devices have picked this up. It'll get recommended to you in no time. And that's Full Swing Season 2's out. Super, super good so far.
Nice.
Yeah, great.
Just been
YouTube golf. As we've learned, it is what our audience wants. On that note, we will end this around the table, and then we will begin our master categories. The master categories each week are when we talk about the dice we rolled the week before. Those dice give us our categories. We pick our topics based on those categories. Lauren, I'm going to let you hear me talk for a second. Because I have been sitting here with some Lorcana news for this whole time, and I've just been waiting and itching to share it. So I got games present, and I can't imagine a more present thing than something that's actively happening in my life right now. Lorcana, we've talked about it several times. I'm not going to go back through the whole thing. Last week, we talked about enchanteds. I gave Will a little lowdown of what enchanteds are. I'm going to show you a few enchanteds. These are some of the enchanteds from this set that I have. Scrooge McDuck.
I love Scrooge.
Let me try to do this. So Scrooge McDuck. We can get it to show. There we go. Nice and foily, right? Scrooge. You got the Sorcerer's Hat. Mickey's Sorcerer's Hat. Grandma Tala from
let me help you out a bit.
From Moana.
There you go.
We've got
that one's
thank
cool.
You.
Yeah.
We've got Jafar. Yeah, we got Jafar from this set. We've got Belle's House, which is one of the new location cards that we talked about last week. And then we've got Robin Hood,
for it.
fresh out the pack. Now, the other one is this card right here. This is one of the very first enchanteds that I pulled in this set. I actually pulled Belle's House and Peter Pan.
Your camera's backwards.
What?
I can't read anything that you're
Oh,
showing.
I was
I see,
seriously
I see,
like,
I
what
see
are you
what you're
talking about?
Okay. So this is
I thought it
Peter
was like
Pan.
the artist or
Now,
something.
when I first got Peter Pan, I liked the card, and I'm like, that's cool. I also like Peter. They have another card. There's another enchanted of Captain Hook, and I thought, I only want Peter if I can also get Captain Hook. Otherwise, I'm up to sell him. I'm up to trade him. In fact, when I first opened it, I was with JP. JP did want Peter Pan, and I wanted Scrooge. I said, tell you what, if you get Scrooge, I'll trade Scrooge for Pan, and it'll be a nice straight up even trade. Roughly, this card is about $140 of value, right? So still good in terms of like.
Yeah, but you also got hit with a medical bill, so it didn't feel so good.
I did. It didn't feel great. Yeah, all this happening at the same
Medical
time.
bills and cars.
So, yes. But something came out yesterday in the middle of the afternoon. It was discovered that, I'm going to bring myself full screen again, that this little spot right here in this second line, so if you're looking down at this line right here, right where my finger is, it says Peter Pan, and then there's this like squiggly bracket. I can't remember what those brackets are called. There's a little squiggly bracket, and then a period, and then a parenthesis. That is an error. That is not what the card is supposed to say. And on top of that, this is the first time that we've seen an error card get caught mid-production because not every enchanted Peter has that error on it. Which means now this is a very
It's a
rare
brace. Isn't that
card.
called just a brace? I think it's a right brace.
Maybe. That might be what it's called. In the development world, they may have a different name for it. I think it's called the squiggly bracket.
That might be what
in
it's
the
okay.
literary.
Yeah, the official Oxford English Dictionary term.
So that card went from being $140. This particular one, there's one on eBay right now with like 70 bids for $910.
That might help.
I immediately, once I saw them cruising up, I listed mine as well. I listed mine for a starting price of $500. I had just right before we started recording, I just turned down a $725 offer for this card. But suffice it to say, it's doing quite well for us. So I have two pieces of unopened.
Nice.
There's no way
left, and so for my
you're gonna
category,
hit one again.
You're gonna open it right now? Yeah.
For my category, I thought, you know what? Let's see.
Now I see why you needed to go first.
Like
you had to open these right away. I'd be like, yeah.
I've been sitting here looking at these boxes
Your fingers are
this
itchy.
whole time. There are two booster packs. So one in each of these starter decks. So I'm going to just open them and show you what I got, and let's see what happens. Maybe we'll get lucky. Who knows? I've already gotten lucky. That's a lot of
to get a
enchanted,
error card
from
is
one
also
set.
pretty cool. That's awesome.
The error card is fantastic.
Do you want me to
think
go
if
get
it hadn't
that
been-
graded?
I'm going to try to. Not if it sells. I don't want to grade it.
Oh, I know how
if it
you
sells, then
got mine graded and you took great care of it, so I could just do this.
shut up.
Lauren, what was your question?
All right,
Lauren?
here we go. I'm just
Do you
gonna
think
pull some
that
of
if
these.
the card that had an error on it, like if it had just been one of the regular cards and not an enchanted card, it would be worth less money, or is it still like super valuable because of the error?
It absolutely would. It would be less
still be
money,
more
but it'd
valuable.
still be more valuable.
Yeah.
It might sell for like $100.
And there's a couple of different types
whereas
of
some of these
errors
cards-
too. So like you have
Yes.
that, which is just a typo. Sometimes you'll have
What is that? What is that? Treasure Planet?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
That's
this
I
is
love
Treasure
how
Planet. This
weird
is
they
Map of
make
Treasure
these.
Planet.
It makes me so happy. Like no
That's a-
Disney movie is ignored. Like Atlantis was
great
in
card.
there too. Yes, that's awesome.
There's a
That's
legendary.
The
great.
Hydra from Hercules.
a legendary is great.
Yeah.
Not an enchanted, but
Oh, nice.
And my foil is Olympus would be that way. Okay. That's a legendary. That's not a bad pack. That legendary is the least
Legendary.
least valuable legendary of the set.
But
so
another type
that's fine.
of not really
but still
misprint,
better
but
than
another
nothing.
type of change print I find very interesting is sometimes when cards are released, they're very unbalanced, and those will get changed later on potentially. So future iterations will adjust them. But some tournaments will let you play with, if you have the card, you can play with it, and people will seek out and pay a lot of money for these unbalanced cards to put in their decks. I find that very fascinating.
That is interesting.
Location.
That's true. That's another location. That's
Yeah.
DeVille Manor. So Cruella DeVille's house.
Maleficent.
It's
see.
literally, I don't know why your
No,
camera's
it's-
still
it's-
backwards and we're supposed to look at these cards. It's
You can see it good
everything
enough.
you're
Well,
seeing.
that's fine because
Imagine
just
it different.
it's just pictures. It's
What
just
do the
pictures. That's
locations
all we're
like?
looking at right now.
Do in the game, I guess. Like,
The locations are places that you can go and your characters can find refuge, and each location has lore. This one doesn't actually, but a lot of the locations have lore associated with it, and the only time you can typically get lore is
Yeah.
if you quest with a character. Lore on a location, if a location is out in front of you at the start of your turn, you just automatically
And
get
lore is what you used to
whatever it
win.
says.
So that's
And then lore is what you used to win. The first person to get to 20 lore wins the game. And there are different aspects. Like for instance, this card says characters gain rush while here. Rush means that you can play a card and you don't have to wait a turn to be able to play it. You can
Got it.
attack with it immediately.
very cool.
So that's they do different things in that regard. This is one of my favorite cards, by the way. Just the
Oh,
visual
that's
of it.
cute, like
It's the
stuck
genie
away.
box
stuck in
in
the card.
Itty bitty
Yeah.
living
the
space.
card. It's a really fun card.
All right.
And then
We
along
got
There's a
these
lot of
now.
Hercules cards. I love
So
this.
this one, right? So and then Along Came Zeus is a
then
really
along
powerful
came
card,
Zeus.
and this one's actually a pretty valuable card already too. And this is the only song card that has an enchanted, and we're actually on the hunt for that. It's the
Which
one
is
that Cooper wants.
like what? Is it Hercules or?
It's
Oh my!
It's this card.
Holy!
That's amazing.
Holy cow. Oh man, my body just got
What is
real
it? I can't
sweaty.
read it.
Holy
That's
cow.
the card you're looking for.
Okay, this is
That is insane.
that was the one I was
That's
just
so
talking
cool.
about.
Oh yeah.
And then along
Yeah.
Someone
came
please clip
Zeus.
that. That's crazy.
This is the
Yeah,
song.
we have to. That's like that clip that's
Oh.
going around on TikTok where the kid like pulls the Charizard card right after he talks
All right,
about
go
it.
sleeve
Like,
it.
yeah.
Go sleeve it.
These right here. This is what
I
I
love
was
that it
talking
came in
about.
a pack
This is the
together. That was
rare,
very
and this
kind
is
of
the
them.
How
enchanted.
much is that card? What's the value of it?
This card's probably 120,
That's
awesome.
maybe something like that.
Go put it-
Now you're gonna have to watch
120.
Hercules tonight to celebrate.
Yeah. I need a sleeve.
Like, hurry.
I need Becca or Cooper to bring me a sleeve. I'm just gonna set these gingerly off to the side. That
Becca,
was
take him a sleeve,
fantastic.
quick.
Okay, that was worth
Yeah.
it.
Live update.
That was a worthwhile
Yeah, that was
venture. I'm glad I
awesome.
did it live. That was so.
Congratulations.
That was so fun. JP's gonna be.
He's gonna be so
jealous.
jealous
He's at
of
Disney
that.
right now. Whoa.
You don't
Gonna
share?
be able to watch it happen. Okay.
No.
Okay, everybody. That's gonna be it for me. So, like, for anyone who thought that the game is may have just been a flash in the pan, there's still value in them hills. So, if you and this is the first set that's been more readily available. You can likely find some packs right now at Target. It just came out for retail at the end of last week, so you might find them at Best Buy, at Target. Barnes & Noble will also carry them. We found a couple packs at H-E-B, Patrick.
Really?
H-E-B's getting in.
So they are more.
I do remember buying like
available.
Pokemon cards at the grocery store back in the day, so that seems fair.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the exact reason that I can't get into card games normally, because I found collectible cards interesting forever, but then I always worry, like, if I buy this pack off the shelf, is this the bootleg set? Like, does this set actually have the valuable cards, or is this like the Duplo of the card world?
You gotta just put your hand over it and feel for the right one.
And it's not about, is it a real card? I just never know which packs are the packs I should be spending my money on, and there's too many options, and I just buy nothing.
That's so funny.
Yeah. There's the paralysis.
Analysis paralysis.
The decision paralysis. Like it can be a whole bunch of different things. Okay, well, that was lucrative.
That's awesome.
Master category. That was. Who wants to go next? I'm feeling generous. Who wants to go? Okay, Patrick.
I'm not going to top that, which is why I should go next. Okay. SNL,
I have a funny one.
Great episode this weekend, by the way. Ariana Grande and Cable. Josh Brolin. I blanked on his name for a second.
I was like, what do you mean? I'm so like
it's always
not
on
cool about music that I was like, this must be some artist I haven't heard of.
Yeah. Ariana Grande and Cable. No, Josh Brolin hosting, and it was a very, very good episode. People have been saying a lot of positive things about it, and also a fun appearance by Scarlett Johansson in the beginning. But I started thinking about the set design aspect of SNL, because we know that it happens weekly, but they have a lot of sets. And there are recurring pieces. Like I've only been watching consistently for maybe 4 years now, 5 years. And so there are some pieces that you see pop back up that you recognize from other sketches, but where does it come from? What happens to it? So I spent some time digging into the weekly process, how these sets actually get created for SNL. And I'm going to walk you through the timeline of this process. So everything is based off the writing. If the script doesn't exist, there's nothing to be made. So writers, they are supposed to turn in all their sketches by Wednesday at 3:00. Now, that doesn't always happen. Sometimes it's Wednesday at 7:00 or 8:00. But the point is, the people that are in charge of the sets, they're there, sitting there, 3:00, waiting to be come in and walk through all the sketches. Now, they always prepare more sketches than they actually use. There's 2 or 3 extra that are in there, but my understanding is there's normally like 12 to 13 sketches that are put in front of them. Now, this is their opportunity to ask a lot of questions, to really understand the scene. Let me pause real quick.
Yeah,
Andrew, do you want to take a break right now? Okay,
nope.
1 second. So this is their chance to understand the scene. Sometimes writers will ask for specific items from past skits. But, if a scene takes place in a restaurant, well, what kind of restaurant? Is it a fancy restaurant? Is it like a sports bar? That's the type of stuff they're trying to uncover in those moments. Mm-hmm. The other thing is sometimes scenes are going to be filmed in unique ways. So, for instance, maybe they're intending that this scene is going to be filmed in such a way that it uses that like filter you see on 80s, early 90s shows that makes everything look like little stars, like starburst patterns. Or maybe they're going to have a blue tint over everything. And so they need to make sure that when they're making sets and they're coloring things, that they are going to look correct in the lighting and in the camera for whatever the effect is they're trying to achieve. So they get everything on Wednesday. They get that information. Thursday, they have to communicate this all to the several different departments, but one of those is the department that does all the construction. So someone goes there. It used to be that someone went there because, SNL's been going email and phone and all these different communication methods. So it used to be you go in physically in person because you had to. Even now, though, someone physically goes in person and communicates all the things they would like. those sets that are being built off-site, those still have to come through, go up the elevator, and be loaded into the studio. And so they have a mock elevator on site. So the pieces they're planning on breaking down, they can actually verify they will fit in the elevator to make it up to the studio. It used to be that they painted all of these things off-site. They wrapped them in brown paper and then transported them. They no longer do that because things would inevitably get damaged, need touch-ups or whatever. So everything that's sent is sent unpainted, unfinished. So they build it. They don't do the finishings on it. So the things they build, like it wouldn't have like doorknobs or curtains or whatever, but they would build it. It's not painted. They would send that out. So they're given that on Thursday. That stuff starts being sent as it's being done. And these people are building this stuff really within like 2 days because by Friday, all of this stuff is being set up. Now, Thursday is when the musical guest comes in, is my understanding, and the band comes in. They do setup. They start doing rehearsals. This is also when they start doing promo shoots for the weekend. So that stuff's happening on Thursday as well. And they'll start blocking things out in the studio. So they'll start getting an idea of like, okay, we're going to set this here. We're going to move. This next one's going to happen over here. So they start doing that type of blocking. As pieces come in, they can start doing painting and touch up on pieces. But a lot of the big painting doesn't happen till Friday. So by Friday, now we've got all of our pieces over there. Now we're dealing with the furniture and those bits. Maybe we're uncovering more about how this is going to look in camera, and so we're making some adjustments. All that's still set up on Friday. The next thing that's going to happen is there's a lot of painting that happens on the floor, and none of that can be done until starting Friday evening, because that's when they can actually move cameras out of the way and do all the final setup in the studio. So there's a crew that comes in at 5 p.m. on Friday. And I think there's a crew that's coming in during the week, but there's a crew that comes in at 5 p.m. on Friday that has a lot of painters in it, and they're doing all their painting overnight on Friday. So this is when they can move all the gear out of the way. They can paint the floor for all the stuff they need. They can do the final painting on sets. They're doing all this final like trim and doorknobs and touches, like all the final dressing is what I'm trying to say. They're doing all the final dressing. Mm-hmm. Saturday morning, so they're still finishing things up, but eventually on Saturday they do a technical run through. Now, you're also starting to get requirements at this point of, oh, actually, if this thing's right against this thing, we're not going to have time to get hair and makeup done in the transition. So they're also making all these adjustments based on those items. And then there's also some other fun pieces, like if any of the skits call for like something filmed in the hallway, for instance, then something you'll always see is there's always Abe Lincoln and there's always a llama. Those are two things that are always in the hallway shot, or at least 99% of the hallway shot. So if they know they have that, they order that as well. So then on Saturday, they do their technical run through with everything to make sure it functions. And then finally, they then do a dress rehearsal on Saturday as well. Now, coming out of the dress rehearsal, they're going to uncover more things. You have to also keep in mind that there's a potential that at any point, a current event, especially a political event, could happen that they then want to incorporate. Yes. There are things that happen on Friday that they incorporate on Saturday. So they always have to be ready to pivot. But the point is, they finally do their dress rehearsal on Saturday. Immediately after the dress rehearsal, so the dress rehearsal is about 20 minutes more content than they need. They immediately go through and cut content. At the end of the dress rehearsal, they make their final adjustments, and then that takes them into their live show. By the time it gets wrapped, I think on Saturday, people are getting out of there. It's late, but they're getting out of there late. It's early. And then again, Wednesday, that's when it's all going to start again. That's
amazing,
sprint
honestly.
The entire time from a lot of different people. Yeah. I think the thing that's maybe the most surprising about me about hearing this is, in some ways, how little communication there is. I mean, you go from talking to a group of writers, and then they leave after the meeting, and then 2 days later, you're showing them stuff, and you're seeing it in camera. And so there's so much trust that you have to have for everybody that's involved for it to work the way it does, and for it to work in the timeline that it works in.
That being said, though, of all the shows that are out there, the writers have the most control at SNL than they do in most anything else.
Timeline,
because a lot of these writers are also performers. And these performers are writing to get their stuff out there. So there's a lot of vested interest in the stuff that they're writing. On top of that, I've been there. I've been at Rockefeller Plaza in studio. What is it? Studio. Oh gosh, I can't remember that. It's famous, but been in that studio midweek, and I know what you're talking about. It was like Thursday, maybe Friday. Actually, I do think it was Friday, and the whole floor and stage was full of sets. The entire room was full of sets while they were being produced. And I was like, how do they film that way? Well, they don't. They clean it all up before the actual thing. But like all of so many sets happening. And you got to think, like, if there's 20 minutes of skits that are being cut for time, that's 4 or 5 skits that are being cut. So that's 4 or 5 sets that are no longer actually needed for the show.
That was fascinating to me, is that people obviously put a lot of care into what they do. And there's other pieces to it we didn't mention. Like, there's a lot of backdrops that are needed. They have to get printed, so they'll decide.
Yeah, like costumes, sound, everything.
So we need to, there's things they used to do a lot of hand painting. They don't hand paint anymore in terms of like, again, like backdrops or scrims or whatever, but they'll send those off to get printed. But yeah, to your point, they obviously put care into this, but it can also get axed on Saturday halfway through the day. So there's that very disposable nature to what you're doing. Plus, some sets, like, they're building pieces, but those pieces might get used only once or twice or 3 times, and then everything just gets taken apart, fully repurposed for something else. So there's some stuff that they will leave up. There's a lot of stuff that when they get back, they just break it back down to kind of bare materials to reuse.
So let me ask you this, because this is your topic, and I love it. How many times do you think it's been floated to Lorne Michaels or the team, the executive team at SNL, that they switch to an LED wall, or what do they call
like
it?
The volume
for like the Mandalorian, the volume, where they shift to a volume type situation to cut down on physical props because digital things can be created so much quicker. How many times do you think that's been pitched to him and he keeps coming back and saying, I want this to be still tangible?
I do think part of the fun, though, is the like somewhat handmade, or like, like they did make it in a week quality.
I get it. That's what I'm, Sure. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, but how many times, Patrick, do you think it's been pitched? Because it would be way cheaper.
Sort of. It's the upfront investment, though. Those like volume things are like huge. So who knows if it would even fit in the studio that they have, and like you have to train people how to use that, and it's a whole new thing.
I mean, I have an answer for you, and the answer would have been up until February of 2023, no times. I mean, Eugene Lee was the lead set designer for SNL from the premiere episode. He was there in 1975 when it started. He was one of, by the time that he passed away, and he passed away last year, he was one of like him, Lorne Michaels, and like 2 other people, 1 other person were original from 1975. Like they were
he's the equivalent to a 9 old man, like with Walt Disney's 9 old man.
So from that standpoint, I have a feeling that he wasn't going out and pitching that. Now, since his passing, who knows how things have changed and evolved. I do think at this point, I feel like when you're this far into the run of something, then it's institutionalized, and like that is things. Part of the magic now. But given that Eugene Lee had been there since first episode in 1975, and that wasn't some role that 10 years in that guy quit and someone else joined in, because of the long-term nature of that, I doubt it was ever in the conversation very much. So there is progression going from painted scrims to printed scrims. There is progression in terms of communication. But yeah, at this point, that is the character and charm of the show. So it would be such a hit to take that away. Outside of that, the only other thing that I will note is that if you're this is one of the other things Eugene Lee talked about, because he built sets also for like Broadway shows. And the thing he mentioned is that when you're making a set for a Broadway show, and you all of course have like different companies that are doing the same show, when you make a design update or a decision, that goes to all those companies. And so you can perform, with this group in this location, and then next week you could perform with a different group in a different location, and it's going to be the same experience for you as the actor because that stuff is shared everywhere. So you're doing something that can travel, something that's very repeatable, and it's very uniform in that way. Whereas obviously with an SNL, you're building something that really just has to survive for the setup and the 5 minutes it's used,
days,
and then rip it apart. And so it's a very different approach to building something like that.
But also has an elevated ability to potentially be lightning in a bottle and be a set that's viewed millions and millions of times into perpetuity.
Wayne's
Things
World.
Like the cowbell set, the Wayne's World set, right? Like
the one I remember the most. Yeah.
All of these things have the potential to catch, and once it's caught, it will live forever. And it's crazy. It's this weird strike of like, make it just good enough so that we're not busting our butts to overwork it, but make it just good enough that if it does catch.
Yeah.
And by the way, for set dressing, last week's episode, there's a skit. It wasn't funny, but there is, which I guess has most of SNL. I didn't have to say that part. There's a skit about it's about a group of police officers, and they're trying to solve crimes, and the joke is that two teenage girls with their cell phones can like find people faster than the police, right? That's what it's built around. But I remember when they were showing different parts of this like department they're in, how dense all the set dressing was. Like, just go back and watch that and just look on the walls, look on the desk, look around. I cannot believe they spent that amount of time to make that set as
I would
deep
think,
as
though,
it is.
that
It was crazy.
potentially like Police Precinct is a set that they've had have used many times and can kind of like, okay, well, we've got the phones already, and add some extra papers, grab the books, things like that. Maybe I'm just
sure.
Yeah.
In terms of accessories and
because that seems like a setting you would reuse.
They do tear them down. They
Yeah.
tear everything down and rebuild it every time.
It's
so
not
it's
a
not
copy,
like
but you would have like the props and you just have the stuff on hand to.
Because it's also New York real estate.
Sure.
Space is finite. So
very true.
You can't just keep everything you do. If they would film this in
I think
Kansas,
they must have like a crazy warehouse of just props somewhere.
Well, I think the top 14 levels of Trump Tower are all just SNL storage now. They moved they moved the campaign headquarters.
Fun
and
fact, the whole studio is
true.
6,000 square feet.
That's so small.
6,000 square. Patrick, that's half of your house.
That's crazy.
Strike that.
Strike
your house.
Yeah,
That's
I knew
two
what
of
you
your
meant,
houses.
but I was going to go
That's
along
not
with
a
it.
lot of space.
All right, that's a little peek behind how SNL happens every week. Lauren, you're going to tell us about Monopoly?
I'm going to talk about
in just a second.
Lauren's going to tell us about Monopoly in just a second.
I do have something to kill the time while we take a little break. So I didn't bring this up in my around the table, but we've got some extra time right now. So I did throw a big party for the Oscars, and we had a full menu of like foods to match each of the best pictures. And I would like to share the really cute place cards that my friend made for me.
All right, let's do it.
My screen really quick. My friend Anna, who's on the Tales from Beyond the Galaxy podcast, helped me make these and plan all the foods. So they are really cool. Let me share. There you go. Okay, so these are all in just alphabetical order. So we did macaroni and cheese for American Fiction because it is pandering. Everyone loves it. Get it? For Anatomy of a Fall, we did drop biscuits. And then Anna came up with the genius idea of we just melted extra butter and added red food coloring to it to have like blood spatter, which is like a big part of that movie. It was the like blood spatter analysis of this.
Could also choose strawberry jam, but sure, that's great.
The butter worked perfect. It looked so good. For Barbie, I made one of those like Barbie cakes that was like all pink. The cake itself was pink. The frosting was pink. It was covered in pink sprinkles. It was so cute. I was very proud of myself for achieving this cake because it was not easy to make. For Killers of the Flower Moon.
Let me stop you real quick. I love this. But
Yes.
I'm so disappointed you're not showing me actual food right now. But please continue.
I'll put the pictures of the actual food in Slack because I don't have them like on my computer right now, but I'm happy to post those for sure. So for Killers of the Flower Moon, I looked up Native American recipes and found this salad that's called the Three Sisters salad that is, like corn, beans, and squash. It was really, really good. I would definitely make this again. That was really fun, and it worked super great for that movie. For Maestro, we made like those pretzel like batons that were like covered in chocolate, so like those long pretzel sticks. But she put dark chocolate on them and stuff.
Easy but good.
Yeah, delicious. For Oppenheimer, we had like charred veggies, and my friend actually took like a blowtorch and like burnt them all. It was awesome.
That sounds delicious.
That's very dark.
The whipped goat cheese with the like charred vegetables was insanely good. Another one that I would like happily eat again. For Past Lives, we did Pasta Lives. So it was a kind of combination of Italian and Asian flavors, which is like part of the theme of the movie. For Poor Things, if you've seen the movie, they eat the like the kind of like egg tart things that are like famous in Portugal, pastéis de nata, and they are delicious. I've never eaten them since I've been to Portugal. They're so good, and I have a fridge full of them, and I've mostly what I've eaten today.
They were fine.
They're so good. I think.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, I when I was in Portugal, that was one of the like 3 things.
Yeah, you have to go and get
like,
them.
You have to have it.
Yeah.
It's good.
Oh,
I wouldn't go back to Portugal to have it.
I wouldn't go back just to eat them, but I was really happy to have them again. They're delicious. For the leftovers, we did roast chicken because that's like the Christmas dinner kind of thing, and we just did the thighs, so it was easier to serve and everything. But we did them with like Christmas flavors and everything, so it was like rosemary, and I had cranberries on it and stuff. They were red and green, very nice. We did apple strudel for Zone of Interest. It's something that they eat in the film. I haven't seen this one yet, so I had to take Anna's word for it. But I had a recipe for it ready to go, so that was a good one.
So there you go.
And then we did a Barbenheimer cocktail, which was like a very pink, glittery, delicious drink. And we did sake bombs in it and stuff, and it was very fun. We were all pretty drunk by the end of this because we were also playing if they say certain things, drink, and then we had a mustache taped to the TV, and every time it lines up with someone's face, like it would be a mustache, you would have to drink.
You watched 3.5 hours of TV with a mustache taped to the screen?
Yes,
or
most of it.
There's no way I could come to your house.
It's very small. Like it's not too big. Like it, but it makes things fun.
I did call that there would be an Ozempic joke in the opening of the Oscars.
I didn't call that there would be multiple Madam Web jokes. That was one where I was like, I wish we had picked that as the drink if they mentioned it.
Sure.
Thing.
It got burned pretty hard. They went after it.
All right.
Yeah, that was some good fun. So, I will share pictures of the actual food in Slack. I just don't have them on my computer ready to go, but I had the place cards because we printed them. Okay, so I want to talk about the best version of Monopoly that is out there, and that is the 1999 Star Wars Episode 1 Monopoly. And no other Monopoly set has been made like this one has, and I will explain why it is better than all the rest, and I do have pictures to prove it. And I got on this track because I was desperately trying to find a way to talk about Dune because I missed it yesterday. So I was looking up all the toys for Dune because, okay, if we're going to like make this movie like part 3 come out in like 2027, we need to be buying this merch, guys. Otherwise, they're probably not going to make these movies. But I thought I saw the Dune Monopoly game, and the first thing that caught my attention is when you look at a like themed Monopoly game is what are the pieces going to be, because they're always made of the like cast metal, and that's kind of cool. But I was like, the choices for the Dune one are kind of disappointing in my opinion. They have the little like Muad'Dib mouse, like the little, that one I like. Okay. But then they just have like the Chris knife, and it's not actually like on a stand. It's just like a little metal knife, like, and then I would like it to be
from Clue.
Actually, yes, it looks just like Clue. And same, like, I know with the hook for the worms, and they have the little gum jabbar, and then the ornithopter looks kind of cool, and then the ring. But I was like, why didn't they do the characters? That seems like the coolest part of the movie. Like the ornithopter, I get, like, but I think it's a weird choice to go with these objects, like, personally, versus
I think
like
it's
more.
Probably. Are you actually asking, or are you just kind of posing that? Because I think I know why.
I mean, both. Go ahead.
These are put out by USAopoly. They're not like they get licensing, but they don't get full licensing for things.
Interesting.
So like they probably don't have the ability to produce likenesses, and so even if we had gotten a character, they probably would have been in full like garb.
Yeah, and then they all look the same. But I will counteroffer with that they did not do places on the map, I guess because they couldn't think of enough or something. Instead, the like areas of the map are the different like factions. So like one is House Atreides, one is House Harkonnen, one is the Fremen, things like that, instead of locations like Monopoly usually is. So I did think that was weird. And they do have pictures of all the characters on the board that look like stills from the movie, from what I can tell.
But
I do have a picture of
but
this.
they're not producing those. They're getting licensed images from the
That's a good
production
point.
company.
Yeah, that is a good point.
Previously licensed or approved images.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think like overall, like I don't think this is like a super cool version of this. Like the money that they made is kind of cool, but like I don't like that's kind of going to be like my nice thing that I throw out there.
So
Otherwise, it's a very
why?
standard version of Monopoly. They did change the like chance cards to what is it, fate and politics, which is kind of fun. I like it when they change those things on the themed ones. But once again, the Star Wars Episode 1 Monopoly just blows this out of the water because this was one of the, like, is still the best version of this game that I have seen. So I'm going to pull up a picture real quick and share my screen.
Patrick, did you have a thought on the Dune one before we move to...
They were able to do a small figure of Anya Taylor-Joy. So they just include that one.
Just a fetus?
For like 30 seconds. Okay, so first thing that is awesome about this is that you can see like there's like a plastic kind of like rim around the edge of it.
Can you make
like,
that bigger? Like
No.
scale that out.
There we go.
Just
Is that
make your can you make your
Yeah,
oh
that.
there we go.
Yeah,
there
yes,
we
yes,
go.
yes.
okay? So you guys can kind of see that there's like a plastic rim around the like cardboard standard type of
There's
board.
depth
and
to the board.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you can actually put the little location cards, they slide in to a little plastic slot for each of them, and when you win
Beautiful.
or like when you buy the place, you take it out and it's black, so like you can clearly tell which spots have been purchased by your fellow players or not.
Beautiful.
And you can like you have those little like kind of they're like thick like laminated cardboard like chips sort of that have all of the locations on it, and the back of it has all the information. They're like the perfect little size. They're like very efficient, and I think it's like awesome how they did this. The figurines or like the player tokens or whatever are actually the characters from the movie, and they look really nice. They are very detailed. You can tell who each of them is, and they have like a color on the bottom too, which I think is just kind of a nice touch to make it easy to identify.
The white, the image on the left that just has the characters.
So there you go. You can see them up close, and like see how you can see all of the characters and like how much cooler these are than like just getting a ring as your token. Like I think these are like so awesome, and like my brother still has this copy of the game because it is like the most fun that I've ever played.
Real
and
quick,
then there's also a thing.
Here.
Yeah,
I just really need to pull this out. Darth Maul. Has anyone in the history of time produced a figure of Darth Maul that doesn't have a bent lightsaber?
Yes.
This one does look a little crooked. Yeah.
It is my biggest. That is my like number one pet peeve. Is he has like the coolest lightsaber, but it always gets wrecked because
it's
inevitably one side is bent.
Yeah.
It is funny that these are like metal, but somehow the thing is bent. But yeah, I'll ask my brother to check if ours is messed up. We've had it for a long time.
Hot Toys does a couple of really nice, but you're gonna pay $350 for it. But they do a lot. They do a couple of really nice Darth Mauls, Patrick. I know you're wanting to get one on your shelf.
Sure. Yeah, of course. Lanyards, Darth Maul.
Real quick before we move off of this, Lauren, don't speed through this. We want to enjoy this with you. Okay. Purple, that purple character, is his name Balbosa? No.
You're pretty close. It's Sebulba.
Sebulba.
Has like kind of all the letters in the wrong order.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of all the letters in just a different arrangement.
It was like has the same
real
vibe.
Quick, so we've got Mace Windu, or is that Qui-Gon?
I think that's Qui-Gon. Yeah.
Okay, so Qui-Gon. We've got Anakin. We've got Sebulba.
Does the base correspond to the lightsaber color? Because Maul's is red.
I think Qui-Gon has a green lightsaber. Because Obi-Wan has a blue one.
Because Obi's is blue.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you got Jar Jar, who's orange. That makes sense.
Oops, sorry.
Okay,
reveal. Sorry,
we're done with that.
Where it makes
no.
sense,
I didn't mean to do that. Sorry.
They might have done that. Cool.
We've got the clone droid with it, which is white, which is pretty good. It's like a cream color. Then you've got the Emperor, who's black, whose color is black, because he wears a big black robe. And then you've got Queen Amidala, who does have that like kind of yellowish gold kind of trim on all of her stuff. So I do think it's color coordinated, Patrick. Nice catch.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Somebody thought of all these little details, I love it.
And then they cast these in die cast. These couldn't be more than an inch tall, right? And like
no, yeah, they're teeny tiny. They look just like regular Monopoly figures. They're like about that big, which I think they're really awesome little like pieces,
Even the bases are the die cast, and it's got like a hard plastic around it with the color.
Yeah, or like some kind of like rubber ring sort of. Yeah.
Like an O-ring strap.
I think it's like an
around.
O-ring. If you threw this at a window, it would go through it. So what's the next image?
Yeah, what are we
Okay, so
here?
I want to try to explain. So like when you play Monopoly, you get your space, like you would buy your location, like let's say you have Naboo, and then you buy like the little houses that build into the hotel or whatever. I don't remember the regular Monopoly words for them.
You develop on it.
Yeah, exactly. So if you will look closely on this image, above each of the spots, they have two little holes. And that is so that when you buy these pieces that are the houses, they just slot in there and they stack on top of each other. So you can easily tell, like, again, how well it has been developed. And then when you get 4, you get to switch to the gold one. Inevitably, sometimes we have too many and just stack 4 anyway. But like these are so cool and easy to use as far as like keeping track of all those little pieces on the board. Like the fact that there's a spot where they literally like slot in and stack on each other is so convenient when you are playing.
Keeps it
Monopoly,
clean too, which is what would be my favorite thing, right? Like boards that hold things where they're supposed to be. That's game porn for me.
Yeah.
This might be stealing from Monopoly a little bit because part of the joy is flipping the board and seeing everything scattered
I mean,
wildly.
if you completely flipped the board, they would fly out. But as far as like you just set them on there, like like you'd have to like at least give it a good shake. They don't like clip in like Legos.
Flip it, but something tells me you step on any of these pieces, you're going to the hospital. It's just your night's done.
It wouldn't be nice, that's for sure. Yeah. But yeah, so this is just like I think like such a nice way to play this game. And they changed a few other things, like there's kind of light side and dark side of the force cards instead of the like community chest and chance. Go to jail is still go to jail and stuff. But this is they changed the what is it? The railroads are pod racers, and all the locations are like relevant to the movie, and it goes in order of like picking up Anakin from Naboo and then like taking him to Coruscant, which I thought was kind of cool as well. So just a really, really well designed board game for very well beloved movie. But it blows my mind that they didn't keep this board design for any other version of this, because even the Ultra Deluxe Monopoly, which I did like look up out of curiosity, is like a nice wooden board. It's carved, it's beautiful, but doesn't have these like conveniences of play that this version had that I think are really awesome.
Can I make an assessment as to why, or a guess as to why?
Sure.
They put a lot of money into developing this game, because I think someone can go out there and look at the actual numbers, but you'd be hard pressed to spend more money on marketing than the clone or than what the heck is this movie? Phantom Menace. Yes, that Phantom Menace put into their marketing. They marketed everything, and then even like things that shouldn't have been marketed, they marketed with. And so they put a ton of money into their budget, and this may not have been cost effective for what they were able to sell it for, especially in relation to how well the movie wasn't received. That maybe this was a sunk cost for them, and they didn't want to keep producing it because the ROI was not there to continue to do it. But I do agree, this is a beautiful board. This is a beautiful functionality. This is super. Yeah, I think I agree with you.
It's just a really well-designed way to play Monopoly that I wish was like, it would be cool maybe if somebody like 3D printed these so you could put in like new ones, like if you play a different Monopoly version or something. But like I'd really just like, I always loved this version. And whenever I play Monopoly not with this set, I don't like it as much because of the card thing is so convenient, and like I said, the stacking, the pieces are cool, the theme is cool. Like they just did a really good job with this one.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you.
Will says that the Pizza Hut and Pepsi partnerships were better than the actual film.
I was thinking of the Pepsi partnership when I was talking about, like, genuinely thinking about all the things that you could get when you went to 7-Eleven that were Pepsi related, that were just Phantom Menace. It was what
I had the like Jar Jar Binks like thing from Pizza Hut, like those rubber puppets, like
cooler, the R2D2 cooler, the Pepsi cooler where you could get all the drinks and it was just full of ice and you just lifted R2D2's head, like.
Oh yeah,
it was insane how much. And do you remember? Well, I could go down a whole rabbit.
Didn't they make like a drink holder too? That's like the drop ship with the clones. Like I've seen that on like eBay type thing. That is
for the big gulps.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
The amount.
That's a really cool one.
The amount of product they created just for the marketing of this film. Did not get out of it what they now. A lot of that stuff goes for a lot of money now. Like if you have any of those, grocery store or like convenience store props that they had to market the film, those are highly collectible. But goodness gracious, that's probably why we didn't see more of these, because this was very expensive to put together. This is not.
I do think like obviously it costs way more to put this together than it would the like cardboard one that like the Dune set had. Like it's obvious that this would be more expensive. But I would probably own more Monopoly sets if like. Personally, if this was an option, but I haven't played Monopoly in a long time.
No, that's wrong, because this wouldn't fall apart as often, so you would actually own less Monopoly sets.
Yeah, you'd have the one. You have the one.
I just need the
you don't
one.
Have to buy
yeah, yeah.
I do.
Have they ever done a Lord of the Rings one?
I'm sure they have 1,500 Lord of the Rings.
It's just not a good enough game to invest more in.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing, right? Like.
Yeah, you need one.
It's not a great game, but I would be more likely to play this version of Monopoly.
It's not a good game.
It's the same. It's like the reverse of what is it? It's not Dixit. It's what's the one? Oh gosh!
I literally had someone telling me about Dixit this week.
That's not what I'm talking about right now.
I know, but I'm just saying that it's. I looked up the game and thought like, oh, I think this is kind of what they played at Thanksgiving. Like it feels a little bit similar to that game. But I was going to ask you about it, and that's great. I actually saved like 2 other games I wanted to play, and one of them was Dixit. Anyway,
Dixit. There's a Disney 100 Dixit that I almost bought like 3 or 4 times. It's really cool. What's the game, Patrick? Dominion? Is
the one with the
I've heard you talk about that before.
Artwork?
Yes, the one that's got 1,500 different expansions.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
it's like it's all like
it's just
this
bad.
And
but that's a great game, but I'll never own it because of the visual nature of it and the table presence, as Will says in the chat. This table presence actually makes me want to play a subpar game.
No, I was telling someone this. I was talking about you. And I was, this person was telling me about some games they had ordered, and we were going back and forth. And I always find it interesting because I hear about a lot of games, and then it always surprises me how many games I've never heard of. And it's interesting how people will get into like certain channels, and like those channels like will never cross. And what I realized is it's this person, other than like slightly different genres of game, they buy based on interesting gameplay mechanics. So they'll look for gameplay mechanics that sound fun and obviously fit their style, and then they'll buy solely based on that. You can walk into a store and you're more likely just to look at box artwork and buy based only on that. And I think you buy a wider variety of games.
Yes.
Because
I would say box
you only
artwork
buy
slash components.
Yes,
so like
exactly.
I'll always flip that box over and see, okay, are these meeples or are these printed characters or printed whatever? I will always do that. I'm much less likely to buy a game that is just meeples and chipboard. But
this
yes,
person
the art will get me to flip
specifically
it over.
Tries to avoid things that have lots of meeples and characters because of space concerns. So they just have like, they end up being in like a totally different set of game than you're typically buying. But
Lauren, nice job.
Thank you. It's a fun
nice
one.
Job. You came back.
Good
swinging.
memories.
And we'll need to get your brother in town, and we'll all just need to go play 7 hours of Star Wars Monopoly.
Yeah, let's do it.
Never.
We can watch the movies in the background.
I'll hang out with your brother, but I will not play Monopoly with him or anybody.
Will you watch us play Monopoly while you watch Star Wars?
In a different room, sure. I
will. Do you put episode 1 on while you play this? You have to, right? Like
I know I have at least once, but not every time that I play.
Do you mean like episode 1, 2, and maybe part of 3 to get through it?
Yeah, I don't remember. but probably. Monopoly always takes so long to play.
I don't know that I've ever finished a game.
It's insane how long.
I know that we have finished a couple on that board, but it takes so long because like it either ends really quickly or it takes forever.
Yeah, it's not. Yep, not a fun game. Cool.
Yeah, great game.
But I agree. That's the best version of it that I've seen.
Yes.
And I will never play it with you.
It feels like you're like a veteran talking about like I'm never playing Monopoly again. The scars.
Vietnam is a beautiful place, but I'll never return. Like that's the game equivalent to that. All right, let's roll some dice because I think we've made it here to the end of our episode.
Let's do it.
Let's figure out what we're talking about next week.
16.
Ooh.
16.
Pass.
Film. Yay.
Thank you.
I got 11 again.
I got a 15, which is fashion. Yay. And you got a 6, you said?
No, I got an 11.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why I thought that. Art.
Future art. Have you guys heard about NFTs? All right.
And I'm done.
You can find everything that we're talking about over at mof1.network. While you're there, check out the incredibly expansive episode archive with over 500 and something odd episodes from over the years. We've been doing this, Lauren. You weren't here last week when we realized this. This is our 10th year anniversary this month.
Oh, that's amazing.
We've been doing this for 10 years, which is wild. And so there's plenty of content out there. So just go check it out. And when you do, then share it with people. Let people know you're listening. Let people know what you're liking. There's something for everybody, I'm pretty sure. And then, follow us over on Twitch. Every week we do this live on twitch.tv/mof1podcast. Join the conversation in there. That's more fun that way. I can promise you that. We showed a lot of stuff off tonight, and you only get to see that and be a part of that excitement if you're watching on Twitch. If you follow us, you'll get notified every time we go live. And if you subscribe to us, it doesn't have to cost you any money. Jeff Bezos, if you're a Prime member, gives you one free subscription every single month to Twitch. You can throw that free subscription to us, and it helps us out so much. So please do that if you haven't already. And if you are already a subscriber, thank you so much. And then you can rate and review the show anywhere where you get podcasts. You do that, let us know about it. We will read it on air however you ask us to do it. We've done this plenty of times. And so we just, call our bluff if you think we're not talking about the truth here. So just give us the rating and we will read it on air. I think that's everything. You can find us on social media at mof1 podcast all over the place. Join us in Slack to be part of the conversation each and every day. There's so many people in there and so many topics of conversation. I learn about new movies in there, new games in there, new trends in there, and then we get to answer some fun questions and see works in progress. It's a cool place to be, so join us in Slack if you haven't already. Go to mof1.network and find that little hashtag logo on there, that's Slack, and you can be a part of the fun. Thanks, Will. We are going to get out of this episode for now, though. I'm Andrew.
I'm Lauren.
I'm Patrick.
Hey, go ahead and buy my Enchanted. Peace out.
Adios.
Bye.
Patrick, for some reason, I really thought you were going to say, I'm just Ken.
I'm just
way
Ken.
Loud.
Oh, man.
I mean, I cannot. Okay, there we go. It was a super memorable performance, for sure.
Did you see the comparison of like how they copied Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, like the outfits that the background Kens were wearing? Like that made me so freaking happy.
I haven't seen like screenshots side by sides, but I read about it.
Yeah, I've seen like screenshots side by side, and it's pretty simple reference, just to like him in all pink with all the guys around him, but they're wearing the exact outfits that are in the video.
If I'm honest, I think my favorite part of the whole performance was just seeing Billie Eilish cracking up at the beginning. Her and then Margot Robbie were just losing it right when it started.
I think like when I realized that the other Kens were the guys from the movie was when I was like, just yes, that's awesome.
Yeah, they did well. I did have this moment too, not with Ken, but with the indigenous people playing their song that was being featured. And just thinking what is every other person in that room thought that there may be someday, even if it's a wild chance, that I'll end up at the Oscars. How many of those people had any clue that doing that would get them on a global stage to play their music. Like that was such a sweet moment.
That was a cool moment, yeah.
And then it cut away to people in the audience that Patrick noticed of them trying to clap along with it. And it's like, no, just let it be.
Yeah,
guys.
let them do it.
Yeah, there was an overhead shot. And so when you clap, you should clap on 2 and 4. But there was an overhead shot while they were playing, and somebody was clapping on like the 1 and the 3, like they're in The Jerk or something. And number 1, just don't clap. And number 2, if you're gonna clap, let's at least like.
This isn't like a, hey,
you're on the right beat. Let's just not.
Everybody now. There was no.
Exactly.
And then the only other kind of cringy moment for me was when they did that thing with the honorary thing of the strike and bringing the people out who helped, which was a super touching moment. That was a beautiful moment. Mm-hmm. But the camera, like the production people, cut to the actors clapping for them. Show these people on the stage.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Yeah,
give them their time in the sun. And it was about halfway through that they actually cut back to the stage and showed the people. But I was like, we don't need to see Ryan Gosling's reaction to this. Like, let's see
the studio that won for Godzilla.
Them with all the little Godzillas was adorable. I was like, please have one of them like play with the Oscar like fighting Godzilla.
But that's like the guy that he was accepting it. And he was reading, and he clearly doesn't speak English, and he's just reading. It would be like me trying to like
read.
Read, yeah. I was gonna say it'd be like if you wrote something in German and were like, just read this statement, and I knew like the basic pronunciation rules of German, you know. Mm-hmm. So that's a incredibly tough and potentially like embarrassing or anxiety-inducing thing to do, and it's awesome that this person was doing it. But you can imagine that takes a lot of time. So the fact that they played him off when they
that was a little rough.
I mean, calm down a little bit because
he's trying his best.
I would need to go watch it and see the timings. And this is no type of political commentary. I'm just making a note. But in the documentary award winning, the person that was talking about it was specifically talking about like Jewish and like relations and things like that. They seemed to talk a lot longer before they got played off than the other. And I understand it's because it's a sensitive thing. And so I understand this idea of like, okay, if we're talking about something sensitive, then let's us also as a production team be sensitive. It seemed like that same sensitivity wasn't fully there for that other reading, and I didn't understand that. I was a little surprised because
I do wonder how much of it goes like, when do they start the timer? It's obviously subjective. It's not objective. We know that.
Sure.
But there is some sort of threshold, right? Like they're trying to hit this number of seconds.
This time limit, yeah.
Does the timer go off the second they read the answer? And so people's time gets cut into based on how long they take to get down to the stage? Like that one team
those two guys took
and
so long.
Everybody. Yeah. So like
talk to him after.
Does that factor in? And obviously there's some producer who's just going, okay, like that's enough. Like we need to move them on now.
Well, I think I was annoyed because then the night ended early in terms of production. So then it's like,
I was like, so why are you cutting this guy off? Yeah, like
he could have gotten those last 3 sentences out, and it was tough. And you and I have some experience, Patrick, with talking with people who have some sort of speech impairment, right? And there are moments where you
talking about Will?
Will. I didn't want to say his name. But like,
no, I know what you're saying.
You want to help them along, and in that scenario, like there's a room full of thousands of people and an audience of millions of people who are just rooting for him to do it. No one was like, "Come on, guy, finish it." Everyone was rooting for him until the guy with the music cue starts playing him off, and then you're like, "Oh, come on."
Yeah.
Well, I promise to say it behind your back next time. I apologize.
I thought you were turned around, if I'm being honest, Will. So I thought I was saying it.
I really assumed you had turned this off at this point. But I agree. So that is maybe the one night that's one of the moments that felt like a little. I don't know. I was annoyed. I found myself being annoyed by it. I
also thought it was really awkward that like I liked the idea that they had of bringing up the like past winners that were like really iconic to give, like to talk about each person and like that was nominated and how they did that. But it did every time have like the black person talk to the black person. Like it was
I noticed that.
Annoying. I was like, honestly, I'm like, you guys have literally been called out about this so much. How did you do this? Like, really?
That was less than ideal. It was one of those things that, like, it seemed like some people had personal connections with people, and like that's great. You should definitely have Sam Rockwell talk to Robert Downey Jr. because they clearly have a friendship. But just because they're black does not mean that they know each other, and that they definitely
it felt like that, yeah, for sure. Like, oh, you know each other because you're the same, right? It's like,
right. It almost felt like it was one step removed from a Key and Peele sketch.
Like, yeah. I was
switch a couple of words and a couple of actions, and that whole thing could go to sketch comedy very quickly.
Okay.
And so
I didn't. That's probably a mechanism of the evening I really would be glad if they don't do again, because it took so much time. I almost preferred
they
if
usually
it was
show
like
clips, so I don't know.
I would have preferred if it was a pre-recorded thing with the person talking to them, like maybe while showing clips of the person's performance, or like bring those two things together. I don't know, I thought that bloated it in a way that I don't think helped me.
It was
like,
sweet it was sweet where it was sweet, but when it wasn't sweet, it was awkward. Because you could tell
I found it a little awkward, especially in the beginning.
Yeah, when there's personal connections between the two people, it was very sweet, it was very moving, and it felt like a moment, and we got to share in a moment. When it wasn't that, it felt contrived, it felt a little forced, a little ham-fisted, and it was just void of some of that same like movement, and because of that, it left this weird kind of imbalance in it. So I agree.
I sort of liked I liked the idea of it, of bringing up like all those people that people really love, like really iconic moments, you know, from Oscar stuff with some of those people. But I do think it was a little funky. It didn't quite work for me. And I loved how they did the stage with like the big pictures of them behind each of them. Like that was really cool. They did some very cool production stuff there, but I didn't love that.
Set design
part.
This year was pretty great. It was cool to see how they brought up, and that stage changed so many times, just with lighting and projection. Like that stage did a lot of different things.
I love the
presentations.
The circle that like they had the like half come down and they had the band like on the top half of the circle, and the way that they used that a few times was really cool. Yeah. That was awesome.
Yeah, it wasn't just like templated. Like they had like 3 or 4 different ways of presenting visuals, and they used them intermittently. And maybe there was a rhyme or reason to what got what, but I didn't pick up on what that trend was, and so it felt very fresh. And you're like, okay, how are they going to display this one? How are they going to display this one? And I thought that was nice.
Yeah.
Anyway.
This is something else that I thought of that was just a thought, but it was like I love that Boy and the Heron won for Best Animated Picture, especially because it's like possibly Miyazaki's last movie, and I'm like, oh, he didn't come make an acceptance speech. Of course he didn't make an acceptance speech. Wait, I really want to know what his acceptance speech would be, because like he's so like he doesn't like the when he doesn't seem to like praise very much, and like has a very interesting reaction, and like doesn't seem to care about awards and stuff. So I just feel like I totally understand why he wasn't there, but I would have loved to see it.
Yeah. Okay. I think we've done it. We've made it to the end, everybody. Thanks for sticking it out with us. We will see you.
Maybe the Oscars just shouldn't be televised. I mean, I like the idea.
I like it, but I know it's kind of silly and pompous or whatever, but it's just a good time.
I like the idea of a yearly film celebration, but I would almost rather watch like a 1-hour recap of the year explaining to me what the really meaningful moments were, because I don't know all the storylines.
Or just like an hour long of those like montages they do with all the movies that are like freaking awesome. I want that.
Because there are these great stories and great wins and momentous things that happen, but the way it's presented doesn't really communicate that. So like if you really know, then you really know. But I mean, like, it's cool. There's winners, and like you can tell us who you picked as a winner, and that's fun and all. But I would rather just have like a short form documentary that explained to me what cool happened in 2023. That would be.
I mean, that's why I make a whole party out of it.
Okay, everybody, let's go. It's time to leave.
Alrighty.
Thanks for being awesome.
Okay.
Bye, y'all.
We will see you.
Would you try Ozempic if you could, if you had access to it?
It's a good question.
Maybe.
Everybody think about that.
I would think about it. It's
I
not an automatic no.
It would trigger my anxiety. I think it would make me feel weird. And it would trigger my anxiety.
I don't know enough about it.
I would think I was dying. Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Yeah.